Certainly. Below is an expanded and improved version of the history of Jerusalem, enriched with additional details, context, and analysis to provide a comprehensive understanding of the city's significance, conflicts, and evolution over 5,000 years. This version is structured to offer a deeper dive into the political, religious, and cultural dynamics that have shaped Jerusalem into the world's most contested holy city. The entire history of Jerusalem, a 5,000-year journey through conflict and faith, Jerusalem, without doubt, is the most revered holy city in the world. Its history stretches back almost 5,000 years, making it one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities on Earth. Situated at the crossroads of three continents, Asia, Africa, and Europe, Jerusalem has been a melting pot of cultures, religions, and empires. It is the spiritual epicenter of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, with each faith laying claim to its sacred sites. This convergence of religious significance has made Jerusalem one of the most disputed and fought-over places in human history. Over the centuries, the city has changed hands no fewer than 40 times, with empires, kingdoms, and religious movements vying for control. The repercussions of these long-standing grievances continue to shape the city's identity and fuel conflicts well into the 21st century. But how did this city, which began as little more than a settlement around a water spring, become one of the most religiously and politically contentious places on Earth? This is the story of how Jerusalem became the world's holiest city. The earliest history of Jerusalem, the foundations of Jerusalem, date back to around 3000 BC, when it was established as a small settlement near the Gihon Spring, a vital water source in an otherwise arid and barren landscape. This spring enabled the city's earliest inhabitants to transform the area into a thriving community. By 2000 BC, Jerusalem, then known as Rusalimum, was mentioned in Egyptian texts, indicating its growing importance as a regional center. The city was initially occupied by the Canaanites, a Semitic people who built a large stone wall around the settlement to protect its valuable water source. By 1500 BC, Jerusalem had become a vassal state of the Egyptian New Kingdom, part of a vast territory that stretched from the Sahara to modern-day Turkey. However, the power of the Egyptians began to decline by the 12th century BC during the Late Bronze Age collapse, a period of widespread upheaval that saw the fall of many empires and civilizations across the eastern Mediterranean. In the wake of this collapse, smaller, independent kingdoms emerged across the region. One of these was the Israelites, a faction of the Canaanites who, according to biblical tradition, were led by King David, around 1000 BC. David captured Jerusalem and made it the capital of his new kingdom of Israel. This marked the beginning of Jerusalem's transformation into a major cultural and religious center. The Israelite period in the First Temple under King David's successor, Solomon, Jerusalem reached new heights of prosperity and significance. Solomon constructed the First Temple, a grand structure that became the center of Jewish worship and the symbol of the Israelite faith. The temple housed the Ark of the Covenant, which contained the Ten Commandments, and solidified Jerusalem's status as the spiritual heart of Judaism. However, after Solomon's reign, the Kingdom of Israel split into two, the northern Kingdom of Israel and the southern Kingdom of Judah, with Jerusalem remaining the capital of Judah. Over the next 400 years, Jerusalem developed as the epicenter of Jewish faith and culture. Despite facing frequent attacks from neighboring powers like Egypt and Assyria, in the 6th century BC, Jerusalem experienced the first of several pivotal transitions of power. The Babylonian Empire, led by King Nebuchadnezzar II, besieged the city in 597 BC, and again in 587 BC. The second siege resulted in the destruction of Solomon's temple and the exile of the city's Jewish population to Babylon. This event, known as the Babylonian exile, marked a turning point in Jewish history and the beginning of the Jewish diaspora. Persian and Hellenistic rule in 538 BC, the Persian Empire, under Cyrus the Great, conquered Babylon and allowed the exiled Jews to return to Jerusalem. Cyrus permitted the rebuilding of the temple, which became known as the Second Temple. Over the following centuries, waves of exiled Jews and their descendants returned to Jerusalem, though the city remained under Persian control. In 332 BC, Alexander the Great conquered Jerusalem as part of his campaign against the Persian Empire. After Alexander's death in 323 BC, his empire was divided among his generals, and Jerusalem fell under the control of the Ptolemaic and later the Seleucid empires. During this period, many Jews in Jerusalem adopted Greek culture, a process known as Hellenization. However, this shift away from traditional Judean practices eventually provoked unrest. In the 160s BC, a Jewish group known as the Maccabees led a successful rebellion against the Seleucids, capturing Jerusalem in 164 BC and restoring Jewish worship at the temple. This event is celebrated today in the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. Following the Maccabean revolt, Jerusalem became the capital of an independent Jewish state, the Hasmonean kingdom, which lasted for over a century. Roman rule and the birth of Christianity in 63 BC, the Roman Republic captured Jerusalem, and the city became part of the province of Judea. Herod the Great, a Roman client king, expanded the Second Temple and initiated major construction projects in the city. However, Roman rule was often oppressive, and tensions between the Jewish population and the Roman authorities grew. In the early 1st century CE, Jerusalem became the birthplace of Christianity following the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. The apostles spread the teachings of Jesus, establishing the first Christian churches in the city. However, the Roman authorities viewed both Judaism and the nascent Christianity as threats to their rule and introduced suppressive measures on religious practice. In 66 CE, the Jewish population of Judea rose up in rebellion against Roman rule, sparking the First Jewish-Roman War. Jerusalem was the epicenter of the rebellion, and in 70 CE, the Roman legions reconquered the city, destroying much of it, including the Second Temple. The Western Wall, a surviving portion of the temple, remains a sacred site in Jewish worship to this day. Following the destruction of Jerusalem, the city was rebuilt as the Roman colony of Aelia Capitolina, and Jews were forbidden from entering except on a few select holy days. This led to another revolt in 132 CE, which was brutally suppressed by Emperor Hadrian. Hadrian intensified the Romanization of the city, constructing a forum and a temple dedicated to Jupiter on the site formerly occupied by the Jewish temple. Byzantine and early Islamic rule in 638 AD, the Rashidun Caliphate, led by Caliphate Umar ibn al-Khattab, captured Jerusalem from the Byzantine Empire. Despite being under Muslim rule, Jerusalem flourished as a city of religious tolerance, where freedom of worship was granted to all inhabitants, regardless of faith. The Islamic Caliphate allowed Jews to return and worship freely in the city, lifting the nearly 300-year ban imposed by the Romans and Byzantines. Under the Umayyad Caliphate in the late 7th and early 8th centuries, Jerusalem gained two of Islam's most important and sacred sites, the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. These structures elevated Jerusalem's status to rival other holy cities like Mecca and Medina within the Muslim world, and firmly established Islam as an integral part of Jerusalem's identity alongside Judaism and Christianity. The Crusader period in 1099, the First Crusade captured Jerusalem, massacring its Muslim and Jewish inhabitants. The Crusaders established the Kingdom of Jerusalem, but their control was short-lived. In 1187, Saladin, the founder of the Ayyubid dynasty, recaptured the city, restoring Muslim rule and allowing Christians and Jews to return. Mamluk and Ottoman rule. The Mamluks ruled Jerusalem from 1250 to 1517, followed by the Ottomans. Under Ottoman rule, the city's walls were rebuilt, and religious tolerance was generally maintained. However, by the 19th century, Jerusalem had declined into a provincial backwater within the Ottoman Empire. British Mandate and Modern Era in 1917, the British captured Jerusalem from the Ottomans. The Balfour Declaration supported a Jewish homeland in Palestine, leading to tensions between Jewish and Arab communities. In 1947, the UN proposed partitioning Palestine into Jewish and Arab states, with Jerusalem as an international zone. The plan was rejected by Arab leaders, leading to the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Jerusalem was divided, with West Jerusalem under Israeli control and East Jerusalem, including the Old City, under Jordanian control. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel captured East Jerusalem and annexed it, though this move remains internationally contested. Today, Jerusalem remains a deeply contested city, with its status central to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Conclusion: Jerusalem's history is a testament to its enduring significance as a religious and political center. Its story is one of conquest, destruction, and rebirth, shaped by the beliefs and ambitions of countless generations. Despite the ongoing conflicts, Jerusalem remains a symbol of faith and resilience for millions around the world. The city's complex history underscores the challenges of reconciling its religious and political significance, a task that continues to elude resolution in the modern era.